On this episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the lady who's empowering people to make the right decisions when navigating their employment journey, Jessica Dunne. So Jess, spill the tea on what the journey as a woman in business has been like for you so far.
I would say it's been quite a unusual journey. So I've always had that entrepreneurial side to me. So I've tried different businesses in the past, like once I tried to have like a jewellery business. I've had an online retail store and none of them really worked out. And I think it's because I didn't understand the purpose of why I was doing this. I know I enjoyed the business aspect of it, but I didn't really have a purpose behind it. So I sort of left that and I pursued my education and I went to university and first of all, I wanted to be a solicitor. So I went down the law path and I worked within the legal industry and quickly realised that it wasn't quite for me. I felt it was quite a cold industry. And I realised that my passion was with people. So I moved into HR and I graduated with a master's in HR in the end after a few different courses, something called CIPD, which is like the accreditation for human resource management. And then I worked in HR and I still do work in HR. So I'm a full-time HR business partner. And whilst I've been working in HR, it's become very obvious to me that there's almost like an imbalance of power, I feel, in the employment landscape at the minute. I'm very privy to have a lot of information at my fingertips with regards to employment legislation, how businesses operate and what businesses expect of employees, strategic objectives and so on. And I have that knowledge because I'm in that HR industry. But not everyone will have that knowledge. And I feel that there's almost like a gap in the market or in the community in terms of general employees having the right levels of knowledge with regards to their own rights. So I finally found the purpose. Like I matched up my passion for people and my entrepreneurial flair and decided that actually I want to move forward and try and build a community to educate people on what their rights are. And, you know, you do have trade unions that do that side, but I feel like trade unions are very reactive, so they will represent you if there's a legal challenge. I'm trying to be more proactive and really try and get into maybe the younger generation as soon as they leave school, college or university, and almost help them to realise the journey that they need to go down on their career and the information that they need to know to make their own careers succeed. So a little bit like a career coach, but not coaching people when they ask for it. It's almost subconsciously giving that information out to people before they need it, so they don't actually find themselves in a position where they're possibly being exploited, you know, because they've already got the knowledge behind them. It's amazing.
I love that. I think it's we were just saying just before we started about how pertinent that is for our younger generations coming up, and how often we've all found ourselves in positions where you think, oh, I don't really know what to do about this. And there's almost that, if I contact someone about this now, does this mean I've taken it further? There's that real lack of understanding around what are my rights in this, you know, in this situation. Who do I even contact, you know, within that organisation to get the knowledge? And you almost think that of HR as being on the side of the employer rather than the employee.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think that's probably true. I would say years ago, the HR department were almost like the employee's friend, and you could go in and knock on the door and sit down and have that conversation, and they would support you. HR still does support employees, but HR is a lot more strategic now, and it is more business led. And I've been very lucky to work for employers that care about their employees. But there are businesses out there that either don't have a HR department to begin with, or they're not as always inclusive to their employees' needs. So there is, sometimes that question for employees, where do I go to get that advice?
Yeah, and that's where your business gap and your knowledge would fill that need.
Yeah, so it's really a case of that there are companies out there, non-for-profit, like ACAS, if you've heard of those, and they're really valuable. But again, it's not a community. I really want to try and build up a community to leverage the power for people in the workplace.
Power for people in the workplace.
Yeah. And with that, I honestly believe that the more knowledge your employees have, the happier they will be and the more engaged they'll be. So then the more productive they'll be, and it's a win-win for the business and the employees as well.
Yeah. So can you share a pivotal moment or challenge that you've faced in your career so far that ultimately led to those real valuable lessons or insights for your business journey?
I would say it's just a combination of experiences that I've had as a HR business partner. I've really seen it from the aspect of, employees not really understanding their rights. I know before I was in HR, when I was in the legal industry, I've been in a few meetings and I did get made redundant from one of my positions as well. And looking back, was that done in the right way? It probably wasn't, but at the time I didn't understand what the right way was. And I've had people come to me on my Instagram platform, and some of the stories that they're sharing are horrific. It's employers are trying to change their terms and conditions because they're pregnant, or that there's a disability that they have, and sometimes the employees may not be doing it out of malice. They may not have the knowledge themselves of what they should or shouldn't be doing. But I do feel that for employees especially, there needs to be more advice for them and more places for them to go to get that knowledge.
Yeah, knowledge and education. I think that teaching background from my side has always been the power. It's the key. The more we can equip ourselves with that knowledge, and the more educated we can be around a subject, the more power we've got in that to not feel like something's being done to us, that we've got some control over those situations. And I think it is really important that, that knowledge is out there. I think there's a real worry for employees at the moment because of such shortage of jobs and how hard it is to get a job in the first place, and the competitiveness of the job market at the moment. There's this very much idea that, well, actually these employers can do more or less what they want because there's 10 of you. There's 10 of you waiting to take your job, so on with the next. And what would you say to people that felt like that?
Again, taking that ownership to really understand your workers' rights, I suppose. And, there's another side to it as well. There's probably more employers there that are good than there are bad. And as I say, my employer is a good employer. Everyone that I've worked for have been really good. But it's my experiences of other people where, that it's not been as good. And you can look at that on the flip side. So for those good employers, you also have the aspect of employees coming into work and they're wanting to progress in their career, but they're expecting the business to do that for them. Well, you have to take ownership as well. So, understand, there's that element of understanding your rights and protecting your own interests. But then there's the element of, working with the business to maximize your career and also the business objectives. And I think it's really getting people to understand how to do that, because it can be quite tricky. So yeah.
It's amazing. So building a successful business or community often involves taking those calculated risks. Can you share a risk that you've taken while building this community or within your own career?
Yeah, I think the aspect of building this community in itself is almost a risk, because I'm a HR business partner and I am employed full time, and I have a little boy as well. So my life at the minute is a juggling act. Yeah. But in my role as a HR business partner, I am very employer led, and I am very good at my job, and I do like that aspect of being a strategic arm of the business. It could be seen that what I'm trying to do on the flip side is a conflict of interest. I actually don't think it's a conflict of interest, because as I said before, I think if you build employees up to be powerful and knowledgeable and have those skills, they're more likely to be engaged and to work with the business. So I don't think it is a conflict, but it could be seen as a conflict, because I am on one side a business arm when I'm in work, with employees' good intentions at heart as well. But then when I'm not in work, when I'm at Jess from HR, I'm very much employee led. So it could be seen as a conflict, but I think the purpose of what I'm doing outweighs the risk.
I think it's an overall incredible idea. I think more businesses need to have that, your employer at the heart, because you're absolutely spot on in terms of if you've got happy people who work within your company is going to do so much better than if someone was coming in and being fearful of making, or speaking up, or even doing something a little bit differently because it's never been done before. If your employee knows that, then I just think that's incredible. I really, really do. I think it's an overall, everybody wins.
And you have a lot of businesses, especially like small, medium enterprises, that don't have a HR department, and they may not even outsource the HR because there's not a need for it. So it's about their employees having somewhere to go. And I've worked with a few smaller businesses where I've worked with them on a retainer basis, and that business has said, look, we really value you as employees, and we want you to have somewhere where you can go and get that advice. So we will pay for you for so many sessions, or we will pay for you to contact, and have that engagement. And it's a way of building trust with your employees as well, to say we want you to be knowledgeable, and we want it to be a level playing field.
Yeah. I think sometimes just that impartial advice can be everything, can't it? Because it takes the heat and the emotion out of a situation as well. And yourself, if you've got a work-based problem, and then you go and speak to your close family and friends about it, they often rile you up even further because they're so on your side in that problem that the small little problem that you've gone with is now, escalated. It's huge, and you're going to go and do this and say this, and this is what they will say, and then I will say this, and just having somewhere to go where you've got that, okay, tell me the problem, these are your options, this is the solution. This actually isn't a problem, this is something that just needs to happen, or this actually is legally correct. So you can either do X, Y and Z, or suck it up. Sometimes you just really need that impartial advice, don't you?
I have had those situations where people have come to me and they've explained their concerns and what's happened to them in their workplace, and I have had to go back to say, well, actually, I understand your frustrations with what's happened, and it may not be exactly how you envisage your role to be, but the business has not done anything wrong here, although it may not be what you want. There's no wrongdoing, and just try and give them advice of how to sort of come around to that situation and how they can see the positive side of what could be happening, and so on.
You're almost like business mediation as well, then, aren't you? And effective communication, because sometimes it does just take that, how you're going to move forward then now, and a bit CBT based as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't
What's
sit
the
in
problem?
the problem.
Yeah.
What's the solution?
Yeah. Love that. Absolutely love it.
I know. So can you share 3 tips within your niche then that will support women in business who are watching this episode?
I would say with regards to an online community, it can be quite daunting really, because I don't have skills in marketing and online content creation, and I look at other pages and I'm like, gosh, that's so good, but I think you've got to try not to compare yourself to others, and really understand the purpose of why you're doing it. So although it's an online community and you're really trying to attract people through the online content, really focus on the actual purpose and the message rather than how it looks. So that's something I've struggled with. I look at other pages that are almost doing something similar, not the same, but I look at other people and compare myself to them and say, oh, I'm not good enough, or theirs is better. And I don't really think it should be like that. You, if you've got your purpose, you should just really
run with it
and push forward.
Yeah, I think that is really important. And I think showing up as your authentic self and not having if you're not somebody who wears a lot of makeup on a daily basis, actually showing you just walking down doing a piece is really impactful and powerful, because people buy people, don't they? And I wouldn't want people to think that they couldn't see me in Tesco in me tracksuit bottoms, and come up and say hi and stuff, or that I had to be polished and perfect at all times, because that certainly isn't me. I'm normally wild and on a school run somewhere whipping a child with a reading folder along, So you've got to be authentic, and your community that you're building will really relate to that and come on board with that journey as well.
I definitely try to show a bit of myself rather than just the HR aspect as well, because I think, as you say, you've got to bring the people with you and build that trust, because it can be quite a big thing for somebody to divulge, all their issues to somebody online. So you really got to build the trust and make sure that people have got confidence in you as a human being, not just a social media page,
I think if you follow others, or you're constantly looking left to right, at what everybody else is doing and try and follow them, you get lost. And then your purpose gets lost. And then you become frustrated with your business and you can't see why it's not working. But it's not working because the image that you're putting out there, or the things that you're doing, they belong to somebody else. That's somebody else's personality, or it's what they're good at. And I am such a believer in your business. The model, the marketing, you create that. Like, you've got to create what that looks like in the time that you've got, and use the skills that you have or you haven't got, and be really honest and open with if you haven't got them. People buy people like over and over, and you're building up that trust so much when you're coming on and you are you're talking to your audience. People get that. They get the school run. You will relate to so many mums, whipping the children with reading books. Maybe not, but maybe forgetting the reading.
School,
maybe forgetting the reading book. 100%. But it's about that being genuine, because as soon as someone's bought into your product or service and then you change, because you can't keep that up, like there's no way that you can keep that appearance up, then they go, oh, this isn't for me, or this was, because you've missold them on the whole package, which is you.
I think you've got to definitely schedule the time as well. I've just had a baby. I've just come back from maternity leave. I've gone back to work full time, and I thought, what a time to start something like this. I could have chose a better time, but as I say, I found the purpose, and it has to be now. It has to be now. So I've really got to make a conscious effort to schedule that time. It's a juggling act. I want to spend time with my little boy. I'm really passionate when I'm in work, and I really love to put my career first in that aspect as well. but I also want to do this, and I need to schedule that time to make sure I'm, giving my family enough time, but also pursuing my ambitions and my dreams, essentially.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, my dream is that everybody would make the perfect cup of tea.
It's like your dream and ambition in life. Is that why we started this podcast? Just to make people aware of how to make the perfect cup of tea. So in HR, obviously, if someone has a problem with you, I'm going to tell you a story now about, let's call her Sally. So we've got Sally and we've got Sally and Sue, who went into a school. Well, you have to just wait and see. Right? Sally and Sue went into a school when they very first met, and they were delivering a really, really great learning program for children, lots of play, and it was brilliant. They told me, both of them. And Sally was making a cup of tea, and Sue really didn't like the way Sally was making a cup of tea. So when Sally turned around, Sue was just giving her this really, unforgivable look, as if she was going to dive across.
Sue thought she knew the person, but she clearly didn't.
So that was like a massive conflict in nearly stopped everything, didn't it, for Sally and Sue moving forward? That was a friendship nearly over.
What
would you say in terms of making a cup of tea in a school setting, or making a cup of tea in the work setting? If there was a disagreement, like, what would that be?
I would say, and this is how I make a cup of tea at home as well, so transferring those skills over
to the workplace. I love a transferable skill. I'm all about transferable skill.
I put the tea bag in the cup. I like a really thin cup as well. I don't like to have big cups. I don't know why, it's just a preference. So put the tea bag in the cup, put the sugar in the cup, put the milk in the cup.
Gosh.
And let the tea bag bathe in the milk.
Bathe in the milk.
Bathe in the milk.
Wow.
And then I would boil the kettle while the tea bag's having a little bathe.
A little bath.
Yeah. Pour the water in. Stir the tea. You can see the colour change. Yeah. The milk's already in there, so you can take the tea bag out if you want quite a weak brew. If you want it to be stronger, just keep stirring.
I feel like this doesn't need to go on anymore.
for even stronger brew, basically put the tea bag underneath the teaspoon underneath the tea bag and almost lift it up and down like this.
Wow.
You're like a tea expert. Like, get your workout in there as well. Switch arms.
And then gently press the tea bag against the side of the cup, and there you have it.
Take it out.
Perfect brew.
Lovely, Jess. Thanks so much for sharing that.
You really look after your tea bag. Like, even just the language you were using, I can see it in my head. Like, Rachel needs to make a film about this tea bag.
I've had a few incidences when the tea bag split, and it's a nightmare.
Split?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, I think lots of us have had the split tea bag scenario.
So I've never had the split tea bag scenario. No. Never. I think that's because I use Yorkshire tea.
I don't know. PG tips are also great. I never split.
A split tea bag. What do you do with that then? Just tip it out.
You just all over. There's no other way around.
I wonder why. I wonder if we can find out why. And I'm looking at Shirley. Why we could find out why a tea bag splits then. Maybe it just is the like, yeah. Oh gosh.
Maybe there's just like a not like sealed enough somewhere, like a little unsealed edge. I mean, you can't be perfect all the time. I wouldn't even know whether it was a cheap tea bag. I have had top brand tea bag split. But yeah, you're right. There's no coming back from that, is there? No. That's just, it has to go down the sink. It's a distressing moment, I find. Not as distressing as the way you make a cup of tea for me, but I mean.
Well, I love the way you make a cup of tea, and I'm really, really,
And I think, but I still think I won this round because we've had 5 people today.
3-2.
3 for me.
Yeah. It's an absolute first for you because all 5 last time with me.
Yeah, because I wasn't here and you rigged the results. You got people to sign a special disclaimer before the game. Yeah,
I love that. Well, you have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, especially how you make the perfect cup of tea.
Thanks for that, Jess.